go. Welcome to the Buck and Mike Experience,
Experience sports like you never have before.
where the buck stops.
And the mic drops.
Bam.
Bam.
Here we go. Well, first I guess we're going to start out by saying hi. Welcome to the people that have already subscribed to our channel and the more they're eventually going to come. I'm Steven.
And I'm Michael.
And we're just two dudes that no one else wants to hear us talk about sports, so we decided to put on a video and see who gets online to watch it. Pretty much how it worked.
Yep. Yeah, and we already got a small following, so this would be the first
17
now?
subscribers,
Already?
and we haven't ever posted a video.
Okay.
So the first 17 people will see something by this weekend.
All right.
Thank y'all.
Yeah, thank you. I just want to say, Dallas Cowboys suck.
Yeah, well,
I'm just kidding.
your quarterback situation is better than the Dolphins. So,
Yeah. Did you see that they're talking about extending him?
but is the extension in order to lesser the cap penalty?
I believe that's what it is.
Now
so
you
they
go.
can
'Cause also they're looking to draft a
eventually
quarterback.
get rid of him. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
what I'm hoping.
I
That's what I'm
mean,
hoping.
this was the year to get a quarterback, though. We don't know what the years to come are going to so.
No,
We know these quarterbacks are
next
good.
year's got a good class.
True. There'll
I
be
mean,
some
you
good
got
ones.
Caleb Williams, who's going to be
the number one.
the
pick
number
in the
one,
draft.
and then you have Drake May right behind him.
Also,
so
but
he-
he's not next year, right? Drake May will be 2
No,
years.
no,
from now.
he's
I
next
thought he was
year.
a freshman this year.
No,
That's the kid from North Carolina, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
No,
I
he's
thought
not a
he was-
freshman.
I thought he was a true freshman for some
Mhm.
reason. Oh, well.
no, he'll be
I know
he'll
he
be
was
in this
offered
draft.
a lot of money to leave North Carolina.
Yeah, and the reason he stayed is because his entire family is basically Tar Heels, so he wanted to stay there to continue that legacy.
Smart guy.
So
Oh, man.
it's all
He's
about.
gonna get paid when he gets to the league anyway.
Oh,
So what's the? I never understood the top flight kids that leave for the money.
And then
Peyton Manning's nephew, Arch. What does it matter that he get $4 million? I mean, his family's got it. He ain't got to stress the $4 million in college.
yeah.
So, but other than that, as you can see, we're just gonna sit back, talk about what's going on, fill it in. We'll post things on our Facebook feed, get input from y'all, see what else y'all want us to talk about, and we'll go from there. But this isn't going to be a full episode. We just want to kind of post, introduce ourselves, talk about a little bit of the highlights, the Pro Bowl games, all that kind of jazz, and thank all the people that helped us get started from the ground up. So, Mike, you want to introduce yourself first, just so people know who we got.
Well, we already kind of introduced ourselves.
I mean, we said our names, but they don't know
But,
who we are. They don't
yeah,
know how we
well-
met. We could have been two guys that met on Craigslist.
I mean, well,
Softball's
it is
basically
possible.
Craigslist these
It
days.
is. I mean, it's basically what it is. No, so I am a Cowboys fan, Rangers fan, Mavericks fan, Longhorns fan. I'm basically just like right here, unlike him. Like I like my home teams, and so that's where I'll stick. And I'm also a mock draft contributor for the Huddle Report. So that'll be anytime we talk about my mock drafts, it'll just be here and there of just a few things, but you'll be able to see the full mock on that website.
Which we'll share the links and stuff like that on our personal pages that we have. He's a big Twitter guy. I'm a big Facebook guy, so we'll have followings that y'all can get that information too.
Definitely.
Yeah, me, I'm all over the map. I am a Miami Dolphins fan, a Chicago Cubs fan. I like the Rangers too. They're probably 1B to 1A. I am a Oklahoma City Thunder fan. I mean, I literally spread out to where the only Texas team I think I genuinely root for are the Rangers and Texas Tech. And even Texas Tech, it's just because they're a lovable loser thing too. And my wife goes there, so gotta cheer there. But number one's always gonna be go Tigers, baby. That's just Tiger Nation through and through. I mean, where else can I go watch football, get crawfish, and have a good old time?
I mean, that is true. You can get crawfish here in Texas too.
Yeah, it ain't the same. No, it's not.
I mean, you can get crawfish brought from there too here.
Yeah, no,
It's still not the same to you.
it's just not the same. It's like having authentic Mexican food. No, I'm having Tex-Mex when I have Mexican food here. If I want authentic Mexican food, I'm going to Mexico. I live close enough, I can do that.
I mean, you got a good point there.
It's just like pizza, the whole pizza debate. Like, we have decent pizza places, but if I want pizza, I need to find my way to get to the north, because Chicago and places like that is where real pizza's at.
I mean, I'll take my healthy pizza all day long. It's
Look,
very
I might not be fat anymore, but I used to be.
it's very just kind of generic in a way, but you get enough flavoring on there, it tastes good. You wouldn't know the difference. You wouldn't know that it's all turkey.
It's all turkey? We all turkey?
Mhm.
That's impressive.
Yeah, it's turkey sausage, turkey bacon, turkey
I do
pepperoni.
I like to
Like,
bacon over
It's all turkey, so that I have an entire pizza that's under 600 calories.
It's impressive. I will say I should probably do more of that so I don't like it. So, well, we've got a Super Bowl in 2 weeks. Pro Bowl games are kind of goofy. We got to watch a little bit of the dodgeball this evening. I think they have a great catch contest. We got to laugh at some of the guys like Tyler Huntley getting in and playing, 4 games. And Derek Carr's already said that his best moment as a Raider might have been the Pro Bowl that they're trading him from.
Yeah, his best moment in Las Vegas comes from the Pro Bowl. Not even from playing for the team in Las Vegas.
No, he wore their jerseys one more time though, and he got to say bye. So I guess that's good for the fans who actually know that he's not a bad quarterback.
Yeah. I mean, you got a good point there.
Where do you think he ends up? We know he's getting traded or at least cut. Where's he ending up? He's probably the number one target, I think, on the market.
Well, Aaron Rodgers is basically on the market too.
True, but do you think that because of the age and how the years you can have a guy like Carr, that makes him possibly more valuable? Rodgers isn't coming off the best season either.
I mean, maybe, but you're also coming off of a team that really didn't have a lot of weapons at all.
True, a lot of young kids.
So, I don't know. To me, Rodgers is still the best because Rodgers is still playing at somewhat of an MVP level. Not there, but at that level.
He is a year removed from 2 MVPs.
Carr is... He's done some good, but I wouldn't say that he's been great. He hasn't done as well since he broke his leg a few years ago when he was having his MVP caliber year.
You would say though that you're putting Carr in a category of a guy like go local here, a guy like a Dak, a guy that he can probably win games, but he's gonna have to make sure you have help around him.
Yeah.
So a situation. Yeah. So then I think if I'm the team that goes after him, a guy like the Jets would be the best situation.
I think the two teams that I would say is the Jets and the Saints. Both of those are two teams that, Michael Thomas is gone. They're getting rid of him. They're getting rid of the stupid contract that he had. But they're going to have to use that draft pick they got to try to get another receiver, which they'll have another one in the second round, but you already have a really good one in Chris Olave now. But you'll want to get another one, and their offensive line is really good. So Derek Carr wouldn't have to worry too much about pressure getting to him because the offensive line is good. Raiders' offensive line is garbage.
That and either team, if you go to one of those two teams, either team is the best defense that Derek Carr's seen in his career.
Yes.
He's never had a defense that help him. So he's had to hang 28 points a game and not win. That's just
I don't think
he's asking a lot of somebody.
He's a good quarterback, but with saying I would say that Rodgers is the number one guy on the market. The number one guy that you can get for free would be Garoppolo, and I would say Garoppolo and Carr are pretty close to each other.
Oh, I don't know that. I would say Carr is. I think Carr will end up getting probably $15 million a year more than Garoppolo.
Here, I said they're pretty close to each other.
So you think Garoppolo is closer to Carr than Carr is to Rodgers, though?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
because I feel like if you put, I'm not saying that Carr is like scorched earth. He's not going to go be a Mahomes or anyone like that. But I think that if you put Garoppolo in a situation like a Jets, where you have an Elijah Moore, where you have a Garrett Wilson, where you have a Breece Hall when he gets healthy, you have a good pretty young, good offensive line. You've got some pieces there
and
you
we'll see what Mekhi can do at right tackle.
Yeah, plus a defense, and a defense that's coming to be possibly one of the best in the league over what they're doing. He could legitimately be one of those guys that becomes a fringe MVP candidate in my eyes because he's going to take that team to the next step that they're not getting from a Zach Wilson, a Justin, or a
Mike White,
Flacco, or Mike White, any of those guys.
And so here's two other things. So apparently, I've already heard that Mike White is probably already packing his bags and going to LA to be with his offensive coordinator.
Okay.
So he's probably already gone from that team. But there's another quarterback that just fits there for New York. And he's going to follow the path that another quarterback followed. So Aaron Rodgers to the Jets, to me.
Are you taking a Brett Favre scenario here?
Yes.
Are you saying in 2 years he's going to be a Viking?
I mean, he might. And then he
2 years from now, they might
send some
give up
DPs.
cousins.
He might send some DPs to people. I don't know.
He's
kind of weird.
He is a strange fellow.
But no, I mean, so it's not just because of the fact that they have an opening. But I mean, it is odd that they have an opening now that the Packers are basically moving on from it. Like they've already kind of said that they're going to be trading.
Yeah.
Like at first they said they're not, and now they've said
We're gonna go out and shop. The question is, do you, with the deadline that you have in place for Derek Carr's deal, how quickly do you try to shop Rodgers? Because you're gonna want to get the most you can, but do you want to try to get more and have more teams available to you by getting rid of him before the Raiders can get rid of Carr? Because there's less assets on the table the minute another team gets their guy. Whether we think Rodgers is better or not, there's one less mouth that's going to give you.
So the thing that's going to hurt the Raiders, no matter what, is the fact that they benched Carr. Like that's going to hurt what they can get back because they benched it.
Because they said we lost faith.
Yeah.
Even if
so, like nobody's going to be like, oh yeah, we'll give you a second for him. Like, in my opinion, he's probably only going to get at best a fourth, maybe a fifth.
If I'm a team, I want to trade for Carr before that deadline and take on his new contract. Though I don't want him to hit the open market,
and then
because the open market's going to cost.
Yeah.
But the open market, what he's going to get, because he is a capable NFL quarterback, is going to be more money than what they get if they just trade for him.
Yeah.
I mean, I would be willing.
I agree.
I would be willing to trade more asset because of that. Like I'd give you a 2, just because I don't. I would rather give up that 2 and have 2 years to find out if he's my guy. Come on, we just watched the Broncos give up 1 and a 2 for a coach that won 1 Super Bowl with a Hall of Fame quarterback. So if I can get a quarterback for a second round pick and a team like the Jets, that's what you're missing.
Yeah,
hard to say no.
You're overthinking trade value, like his age, him being benched.
2.
No
right?
teams are not going to give that much for him. There's not a team that's going to give that much.
That's what I'm saying, though. I'm not saying a team would, but I'm saying that I would rather give up more in his trade there than let him become a free agent if I genuinely like him. Like, if I really like the guy, I'd rather give up too much in the asset market than let him become a free agent, because he's going to get, if Geno Smith gets a rumored 4 for 150, that's the PFF rumor, which that's way too much money. He's a better quarterback than Geno Smith. Geno Smith might have had a better year, but he's had years of time that proves that he's probably a better quarterback than Geno Smith had in his 1 season. Now, that could change in 2 years, 3 years from now. I'd rather pay Derek Carr $40 million over 2 years, though, than him become free agent in a league that pays quarterbacks crazy amount, and he's going to get $30 million a year possibly on the low end. And now you're giving him $60 million for 2 years, depending on how you deal with it. And he's going to get at least a 3 year deal.
No, I'm not disagreeing with that. I'm disagreeing with disagreeing with the second round pick. Like that's just ridiculous. He's not going to get a second round pick.
You know, you've had at least a stable quarterback in your organization for the last 20 years.
I understand.
You run out Jay Feely at some point in your life, and you'll want to give up the second round
pick.
pick.
So you're overvaluing like that.
Oh, this is where the fandom comes in, though.
Yeah,
the fandom will play into how some at times, and the fandom of a guy who's runs out has always the best quarterback that I've actually seen my team run out. Actually, still might be a Tua, and his largest thing is his injuries.
Yeah.
Second to Tua, we might be at Chad Pennington.
Man, I was a big Chad Pennington fan.
Yeah, except for the fact that Chad Pennington couldn't throw a ball 25 yards downfield. I mean, he had the biggest noodle arm that we've ever seen, and so he could hit a quarter from 100 yards or from 10 yards out, but he couldn't throw it down the field at all. And so you look at those guys, which Tua is not that much different than him, and any kind of guy who has any kind of arm talent, yeah, I'll probably overinflate because of how important that position is. But the factoring of that money comes into play too.
Let's look at his season this season. Let's look at how he did this season, right? And compare it to how he did last season. So he did a lot better not chunking the ball down the field constantly. Like he did a lot better doing checkdowns and doing the smart play by hitting all these other players. But when he got his buddy, all of a sudden he was like, let's just, I'm just going to chunk it to you.
How much do you think was in the offensive playbook to force the rock to a guy like Davante Adams? I mean, because when you throw the ball to a guy like a Davante Adams, as much as they did, just like the Vikings are going to do with a Jefferson.
I think he's always the first option.
He's always going to be the first option, but do you think there was a tendency to force that, and that kind of messes up that number?
No. I think the fact that they were best friends since college, that played into it, because he was like, "Hey, now you're here, baby. I'm hitting you.
We're doing
like we're going to do what we did in college, and I'm hitting you."
Yeah.
And that's what it was, and I think that's a lot of what got him benched was the fact that he was just trying to hit his buddy. He didn't care about anyone else. He was trying to hit his buddy.
You get his buddy his thing.
Because
Well, yeah, I'm to that.
because you saw some of the receivers last year what they did this year, like everyone else on the roster. Like they just all just tanked.
And all of this is around the fact that we still have to factor in that the Ravens got to pay Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, and
The Seahawks got to figure out how much they actually think Geno Smith is worth, because they can't be worth $150 million.
I know they said
I mean,
that
that's pro
there
football
is a
folks.
cap that they'll go to for him, but they won't.
Yeah.
So I don't know what that cap is. I think 150 million is too high.
If
for
I'm a
players,
Seahawk
but-
fan, and my dad's a Seahawk fan, I've watched him most of my life. If I'm a Seahawk fan, I don't want to give him 4 years. 150 million is absurd too, but I'd rather give him 2 years, and then maybe do like option on the third year that pays a lot if he's had 2 good years.
And
you know?
and it might be something that's similar to that. And I would say that his first 2 years are probably going to be the years that have a lot of money on them, so that
That
if he
sucks,
does, you
get
can
out.
you can get out.
Especially
of it.
because they're so young, they can afford to absorb the hit more now
Yeah,
than they will
yeah.
when it's time to sign guys extensions
Exactly.
with
And-
Roland and Cross.
and by the
these guys
time that
hopefully
they'll-
continue to develop into good.
By the
players.
time that they'll have to do that, they'll have another quarterback in line because they're going to draft one in at least the second or third round. Like they won't do it in the first. They just won't. That's not Pete Carroll.
Yeah.
They'll do it.
The question is, how long is Pete Carroll there?
Well, he's like the president.
He's the oldest coach in the league now, second oldest coach in the
Yeah,
league.
but
now?
he's like a president of something in the company on the
in
team
the
also.
organization.
Yeah. So like he's unless he retires, like he's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
Like he's got a
Who retires first, or Belichick? I think Belichick goes first. I think he'll just say, "F it, I'm done," and he'll do it just like
I
that.
mean, I would
He might not
probably
even
say
do an exit
Belichick
press
just
conference.
because Carroll's in like really, really good shape.
Dude, he is fun to watch on the
Like,
sideline. For
yeah.
a 70-something-year-old man, they say he still goes out and like when he was in LA and when he'll visit down, he'll go surf still and all this stuff.
Like he's in really good shape. Like
yeah.
I don't see him stepping away. He has a good time with his team. Like I've seen
He's
videos of
definitely
him
the
just
difference. Of
goofing on. He's got a
definitely-
motorized
He's
vehicle.
the older version of the players coach versus what's his name being more of the this is how we do things kind of like
Yeah.
that system.
Yeah. I agree with that.
kind of
Yeah.
guy. So that there is a difference in how their aging process is going. Like one grinds on players, players want to play for it. Like
Yeah.
you want to play in Seattle if you
Oh,
get
yeah,
the
yeah.
opportunity. Especially if you've ever, gotten arrested because they're really good with ex-convicts. I mean, they are. They've brought in a lot of dudes that have been troublemaker guys.
I'm just glad you didn't say it was the Cowboys because everyone has that
See,
tired
what's funny?
joke that it's the
there's
Cowboys,
that
but
whole
it's
list.
not.
It's not anymore. That's because Jerry's boring now. 15
That's
years
because
ago.
Jerry ain't running the team no more.
Well, true. 15, 20 years ago, when Jerry was about it, he was like, you got a drug problem? We can sweep it under the rug. That's what he did. But you know what? They won Super Bowls.
Yeah.
So now they're like, oh, you go to church every Sunday? Well, as long as it
that's
doesn't interfere with the game.
That's because they got that Jason Garrett.
That was what was it they used to do? The right kind of guy,
Yeah.
the arcade G or whatever.
It's the Jason Garrett guy.
Yeah.
That's what they've gone to since him is they've gotten that guy that's just
It's not. That's been the thing that I think I've noticed that from the outside looking in, and you hear all about it being living in the area, is that they're not willing to take the risk on the guy like they did with a Dion, like they did with a.
well, they didn't do it with Dion. They signed him.
Yeah, but there was still. I mean, there's still a lot when you bring in a personality of a Dion. Like he's gonna. There's any way that personality could go. Like he could act a fool in the media the next day. But
what
now
was
Dallas doesn't sign those kind of guys. They really
It
don't.
was just a few years ago that they signed Greg Harvey.
I guess that one was, but
That might have been the last one.
that's like the closest thing
Yeah.
that has been any kind of.
And I say that, but that was
possibility.
probably
That was almost 10 years ago, I think.
yeah.
As they say, Greg Hardy, I think, was like 2012, so that literally would have been a decade if that was when it was. And so,
Because now he
He's a
retired.
mixed-
He retired in 2015.
yeah, he's
So,
a mixed martial
yeah.
artist now, isn't he?
So 2015 is the last time that they signed a troublemaker.
Yeah, it's
any
just
time.
they are about that straight edge, right kind of person. They draft him that way.
Yeah.
That was the funny part about this Tyler Smith kid getting picked in the first round was he had a nasty streak. Like he brought a nasty streak to him. And it was like when he
it was the way he played.
Yeah, he plays with a nasty streak, but like that's the worst thing about him is he plays a little dirty.
He plays with a nasty streak and he holds. Like that was his big thing in college was he held a lot.
Yeah. Hey, it worked out so far.
And
he had a good season.
Yeah, he had quite a few holes too.
You know?
It's gotten better, but
there's times that you'd rather him hold than your quarterback guy though.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
You just don't want him to hold
I would
the
much
same
rather
play that
him
he
hold.
breaks a 25-yard run.
Yeah, I would much rather him hold than see the quarterback get hit. But at the same time, if Cooper Rush had to come in, I wouldn't be upset.
And then other quarterbacks we go. I hate him, but we have to say him. Tom Brady retired. Thank you. There's a God in heaven, he listens.
I am happy about that.
Except for the fact that his life gets better the minute he retires because he's going to make more money on his 10-year deal than he did in 23 years in the NFL.
I saw that too.
Only made $333 million, and now he's going to make $375 over the next 10 years, and we don't even know if he's going to be good at it.
Well, so on that topic, I didn't hear about this until today, but apparently Tony Romo
got in trouble.
Yeah.
For bad announcing?
No. Well, yeah, so bad not being prepared. So during the playoff game, someone had mentioned the Burrowhead, and he was like, "Oh no, this is not Burrowfield. This is Arrowhead." Like he didn't even know about what was going on. But apparently last year they were getting on to him about like not being prepared because he also dropped the whole predict the play stick. And he dropped that, and then he quit. He wasn't preparing, so they took him into a meeting and tried to help him. And then this year he did the same exact thing.
That he was doing too much at one point. Like there were people that were like, "He's overdoing. He's kind of a tool." Well, then they were like, "Well, they overcorrected him by telling him not to do it, and now he's losing interest."
Yeah.
But now you pay him all this money. Like you'd rather him be a tool. I mean, because I thought it was entertaining.
I liked it. I was like, "Oh my god!" Like he knew the play.
Well, I think who probably hated it was Dallas Cowboy fans who crapped on him for years for being bad because they were like, "Oh, he does this and this wrong," and then you think about it, he's like, "Well, apparently he knew what he was calling on the field."
He was never bad.
Oh, years of listening to Cowboy fans talk about how bad Tony Romo has. You want to talk about guys I get a sour taste in my mouth for? I loved Romo.
Romo was
that guy.
Like to me, like I love Aikman. Aikman is overrated.
Yes.
Tony Romo and Staubach, and I'll say this about Staubach. Staubach, I understand most people would say is the greatest, but to me, I think Romo is better. He didn't get the Super Bowls.
I'm gonna go with you and agree. He didn't get the Super Bowls, he didn't get the wins, but he never got the best situation he ever got is the year he got hurt. He never had a year like a guy like a Brady had or a guy like that. Finally give him a good defense, gets hurt. Never had a good offensive line. I'll give him this. They genuinely, for the most part, tried to keep a decent receiver on the team, like a Des Bryant for the large part.
Yep.
But a good quarterback can make an average receiver a lot of money, and the classic example was what Tony Romo did for Laurent Robinson. Because Laurent Robinson got
he went to the Jaguars. Woo!
He was like, "Hey, I played 1 year with this guy named Tony Romo, and I had 100 catches and 1,300 yards and 9 touchdowns." The Jags were like, "We're going to cut you after 1 year, $40 million contract."
Yeah. Like, whoa.
No,
this is not the guy that we signed. Like, well, you got to get Tony Romo to make him look that good.
Yeah, you wanted me to play good. Give me a good quarterback.
What? You gave me Blake Bortles.
Was that even Blake Bortles then?
I don't know.
I would say that might have still been David Garrard way back when. Lord knows how long ago. Jacksonville's quarterback's been as bad as mine. So.
I don't know. Like Bortles has been retired for what, a year now?
Yeah,
and he played
was a
with
backup
Green
for
Bay.
about 3 years.
Yeah.
He was in the conference championship game, so we can't say anything. Isn't it great how randomly every once in a while there's that random guy that this year might be Brock Purdy. Like for all we know, Brock Purdy's injury might have done it. That might be it.
Which I never believed in Brock Purdy in the first place.
But you know what? The Brock Purdy situation gets real interesting now because now he's out for a year. Look, baseball fan majority of my life, baseball player most of my life. UCL, Tommy John, that's a year. I don't care what you rehab like. You're not going to get out there and throw it.
Yeah, you see professional baseball players have to take off.
And some of them take off up to 2 years for that. Now it's a different type of throwing motion and things like that. But that's a year that he's out. And the thing that you just did for the San Francisco 49ers, well, good. Now we can find out if we actually have anything in Trey Lance with no controversy. Because the problem they were going to run into is like we talked when we were prepping for all this was that can the organization afford to admit they're wrong and go with Brock Purdy if he was to say win games? And people don't. There's people that say no because of all they gave up to get Trey Lance. Well, now you're a win-win because if Trey Lance goes out there and he sucks, we've got Brock Purdy in the hole that our fans already think is good. So the fan base isn't mad at us. Our starting quarterbacks are. Trey Lance goes out there and balls out. The minute Brock Purdy looks healthy, you just took Mr. Irrelevant and got a 3rd round pick for him.
I mean, you can definitely do that. You
are
can
in a win-win situation
and
because of the value of the position and the fact that now he can't play, so he can't cause controversy in your locker room.
And I'm one of those that believes that the 49ers have to play. Like, I've even seen it from a few people I follow on Twitter where the 49ers in the situation, because of what they gave up, they have to put the ball in Lance's hands. They have to.
They have to give him a chance.
They have to let him
You need
lose
to at
the
least
job.
give him a chance to prove that he can be a capable quarterback because even if he just comes in and he is Jimmy Garoppolo but with more mobility, you need to at least get some kind of assets back for all you gave up, whether it's 5 years after you made that deal or not.
Yeah.
You don't want to just go, well, shit, we're wrong. Like, you want to do something. So I can see how you're going to try to do asset recuperation one way or the other.
And if he fails, that's going to be the first time that organization took a chance on someone like that and then ended up just kind of bombing on them.
Yeah.
Like, they've done really well, especially at that position. Like, even when they brought in Garoppolo to be the quarterback and he got hurt, then you had C.J. Beathard and whoever else was, I forgot the other guy that came in after Beathard got hurt. But it seemed like everybody they had on that team was always produced for them.
The thing that I think...
And it's almost a situation with Tom Brady, when Tom Brady went out and every backup for him did well, and then they went to a team and stunk it up.
Yeah.
Because it's like, they worked the system so well
to incorporate the
and I
skill
feel
set.
like that's the same situation with San Francisco. They draft quarterbacks that fit a system. Now, Trey Lance is obviously a different system than any other quarterback on that team.
He's definitely going to be more
But
mobile, but
they
you need to
already
see him
had the
throw.
system in place for Garoppolo. So they already had that system there.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like they had to change a lot. They already knew that.
I guess Purdy
that much.
Purdy was a very good mix of the two. He had not quite as mobile as a Trey Lance could be.
Yeah.
But he had almost as much as, he had the ability to be almost as arm talented as Garoppolo did. And so that's kind of what made it feel like he could step in and they could compete right away. But even still, you can't blame the playoff loss on him because he gets hurt. And so you sit back and you look at it and you go, he's done nothing wrong to not prove he's the guy. So if you're Trey Lance, there's still a level of pressure on you to go out next year and perform. Whether the fans aren't going to say anything, but he's got to produce.
I mean, that too. But the thing that I always look at is, like, they had the number 1 defense in the NFL.
They did.
They have probably one of the best offensive lines in the NFL
And
because it was
stupid
healthy.
level of weapons.
And
Their
then they
weapons
have
and skill
weapons
sets.
everywhere.
Yes, their weapons
So,
are some of the best.
And then you get a genius mind in Kyle Shanahan.
Able to set up his system away.
I mean,
he can
there's-
use all his toys.
If you fail, it's because you're bad.
But they were a good example as to why I like to go after a guy. Like, if you have a complete team and you have one spot that you need help, and that's a true running back, their trade for McCaffrey is why there's certain teams that I look at in the draft and go, you have a surplus of assets in other places, draft Bijan in the first round. Because from all projections, we think he's going to be that level of skill coming into the league, is that kind of guy. And so if you're a team that has a lot of stuff that's already in good placements and stuff, go ahead and get that young running back in your system now. Especially while he's under rookie contract.
Yes, I mean, it's still rookie contract, still pretty big.
The rookie contract's easier to handle and manipulate, and you already set your books up to know that that's going to be a part of it.
Like, if you're a team that is just, you somehow have an injury and you end up in the right spot to get someone, I can understand it. But everyone that I communicate with and that I follow, like Dane Brugler and Evan Silva, just like all the Lance Zerline and even Daniel Jeremiah, those guys, like the whole belief is, even though Bijan is like this next level running back, the league has just transitioned so much into like we're not going to give up that much to draft a running back high or even middle. Like, even though
Because
you
they
might
hit,
need
we
it,
have seen so many later guys hit.
Yeah.
Which makes sense, and I can see that too.
and like
but
the Eagles, like if you look
They're
at
not
a team
gonna-
like the Eagles, and it's not that they won't do it, like they definitely won't, but you look at how they've always kind of found the guy. It's never been the first round pick. They've always used it on like the premium positions that you need, that you always
the
have to
O-line,
have.
the D-line.
And then they like, now we can go, well, there's this guy. Look, we built our offensive line. We can get this guy to run. And that's kind of like what the Cowboys did with when they got rid of DeMarco Murray. Like that was the whole thing was we're not going to pay him that much because we have this offensive line that anybody can run behind.
And then they drafted a guy.
And then
Pick up the draft.
but before that, they had Darren McFadden. They brought him in.
That's right, McFadden
And
did one year after
he-
that.
I mean, he
900 and something
Yeah,
yards,
well,
almost
and
1,000 yards,
he got injured a couple times,
which is what he
which
did
is
his whole
normal.
career.
Yeah. So, but they basically proved they were like, we don't need nobody. And then of course Zeke fell to them, and they were like, oh Zeke. I was too though. I wanted him. But
Getting a
man,
guy
he
like
just-
that as a fan is fun. It's fun when your team picks that guy. Like when you go back and you're like, that dude was a beast. Like you want that guy. It's not always fun as a fan to look back and go, my team picked Landon Dickerson. No matter how good of a pick that Landon Dickerson might have been, and in 10 years you might pick back and go, man, we picked this guy. Or we picked like, when the
It's
Cowboys
funny you
took,
say Landon Dickerson.
that's just the name of
I
an
was-
example, like an
I was
offensive
a-
lineman.
Like, I hated that he went to the Eagles. Hated it. Because in the draft, he was one of my favorites that I want. That I was like, this is a guy, I don't
Yeah,
care
okay,
where
you're
he
a
goes,
draft nerd, come
other
on.
than the Eagles. Like, this is a guy I want to root
Or-
for. And then he went to the Eagles, and I was, I can't
Even the
root
year
for
the
him.
Cowboys took Zach Martin, remember that the whole whisper was, oh, we're getting Johnny Football. Wasn't that the same year? That's the
Yeah,
year, right?
yeah,
We're
yeah.
getting Johnny Football. And as a fan, there's a lot of fun in picking a Johnny Football, whether he was bad at football or not. There's a lot of fun in that. And so on draft day, when you're watching it, you're all like, yeah, we did it, woo!
Yeah.
You don't get excited over the offensive guard. You don't get excited over, you get excited over wide receivers, running backs, quarterbacks, playmaking safeties. You might not get excited if you got the guy that had the measurables, but he could be. But if you got the guy that was making big
Yeah.
plays on big games, you're gonna like him. You like
Yeah.
the edge rushing guy. The Aiden Hutchinson wasn't a flashy pick, but you like that kind of guy because he makes plays in the backfield. So fans get excited about certain players and that kind of stuff, and so that comes into that play.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
But-
I agree with that.
well, I think we've talked about a lot about football, and we're going to talk about it. And I think tonight's goal was to just kind of throw something short out there and let
Did
it
you
see
want to
it.
hit on basketball real quick? And the fact that LeBron James is, 3 games away from
He
passing
is. And
Kareem
you know who he's
Abdul-Jabbar?
going to be playing when he breaks the all-time record?
You know what I'm saying?
Oklahoma City Thunder, which I'm not on the wall. I got to get something
Which
for
he,
my boys.
he's
$75,000 a ticket. That's what they're projecting it, is what it's showing out right now. 75 grand a ticket. It's going to go up.
it's already
Because
at
it-
92.
Is it now? It'll never get broken again. No one will ever be the consistency. Look, I could go on a whole show run on this. Michael Jordan's the greatest winner that we've ever seen in the game of basketball. We'll look y'all in the eye and say, no one will ever win the game of basketball the way he does. But nobody has ever been or will ever be more skilled at the game of basketball than LeBron James is. The physical element that he brought to the game, the transformation of his game as he's
Physical
aged
element that he brought.
early on. People forget at the beginning of his career, he was a go to the hole constantly kind of guy. As he got older, he developed the ability to get a jump shot. He wasn't a great shooter
That's
coming
what
out.
most of them did.
Yeah, but he's done it.
Jordan
to-
did the same thing.
We're talking about a guy that was Michael Jordan has never would have been a 3-point shooting guy. He was
No.
never a
Well,
high arc outside
when
guy. He was a
when
great
he
mid-range
played-
guy.
When he played, that wasn't like a big thing.
No,
Like
but
that wasn't
he's-
actually something until like the later part of his career.
Yeah, but even as he got older, he never was able to develop the consistency of that outside kind of shot. He was a monster in the mid range.
Yeah.
And his athleticism was unparalleled. And at the end of the night, you want him to take the last shot. Like if Michael and LeBron are on my team, I want Michael to take the last shot. But if I'm building my organization for 15 years and I get one of the two, I'm taking LeBron. Especially now, because what in the hell kind of world we live in? Do you think that Michael Jordan and his gambling issues would have made it through social media? what do you think that impact would have been on his career?
Yeah.
I mean, people don't think about the fact that he played in a time before everything was instantly to us. And there were a lot of off the court questions, like his retirement.
But you could also change that up and be like, you know, if he played during this time, would that even be an issue?
Just so we're clear,
Like
this is going to be why we suck at teasers. Is we're ramblers. We're going to get on and we're going to go.
Yeah.
And so we'll be that way.
Yeah.
And
especially on a subject like this.
Yeah,
where,
this is going to be a
where
debatable.
everybody's going to be like, no,
As
no,
soon as
this
this
guy,
one
no,
posts
this
and
guy.
we share this on Facebook, it's going to be like, how can you think this is? We're going to have to post some of these videos and go, here's the link to this week's episode, and here's a teaser question. Take your vote on who's better here and here. And by the time we come to next week, we'll tell you who y'all voted for him, even though you'd probably be wrong if you didn't vote for LeBron.
And you know, I'm sure we'll get some grief over the ranking of like Aaron
players
Rodgers
and how certain guys look. We'll get in, and especially as we get to the part of the year when it starts to draw in the world of fantasy football, because guys don't understand there's a difference in football player skill set versus fantasy football player skill
I
set.
am not talking about fantasy because I'm not giving any of my secrets away. So we can touch on people, but
we don't want to say
like
who
the top guys.
Draft
We'll talk about the top guys, but
the popular guys, but we're not going to say who I might pick in the 14th round. All those fun things and all the money that people put into those adventures.
definitely.
Well,
that.
Tonight was a nice, fun, short ride. I think we're going to have a good time. We want to thank everyone for watching, and